Time for some business news, and regulators in the United States have told 9 major technology companies, including Facebook and Amazon, to hand over information on how they handle user data. Now, it's part of a major review on how personal information is collected and used by these companies. We're going to get more from our business editor, Stephen Carroll, who's joining us now. Stephen, just explain, first of all, what exactly are these companies being investigated for in the first place?
Well, it goes to the heart of how all of these big technology companies operate, and particularly how they handle our data. This is data that's collected by these companies based on what you do when you're browsing using their services or on their websites, and how it's used to target advertising that's supposed to reflect what you're going to be interested in. What the Federal Trade Commission wants these 9 companies to do is to hand over information about how that information is collected and then used. And in particular, they're interested in how the data is collected and used on young people, on children and teenagers who could be using these services. We're talking about 9 video streaming and social media companies: WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, which is owned by Amazon, but also Snapchat, Reddit as well, also in there too, and TikTok, China's ByteDance, included in this order from the Federal Trade Commission as well. Those companies now have 45 days to hand over that information, and the FTC says they'll be looking out to see exactly how this information is used and how it might affect users' privacy as a result. The latest action by the Federal Trade Commission just last week, along with 48 attorneys general in the United States. They begun legal action against Facebook, and that was over competition reasons. They were accusing Facebook of abusing its dominant position in social media. And there have been previous investigations that have resulted in fines by the FTC on the issue of privacy. Just last year, the FTC imposing fines on both Facebook and on YouTube over how they handle user data. So this is all part of an effort that we see regulators in the United States increase their pressure on big tech.
Stephen, the news comes as well as the European Union is set to announce new rules governing digital companies as well.
It's going to be the biggest overhaul of European rules in this area in 20 years. We're getting 2 pieces of new law being unveiled, draft laws unveiled by the European Commission later on: the new EU Digital Services Act and EU Digital Markets Act. And this is, in the words of the European Commission, the way that they're going to update their toolbox for regulating big digital companies. That'll include things like obliging these platforms to remove illegal content, but also getting them to give some details of how their algorithm works, how their internal machinery works in promoting certain information over others. Particularly, they're interested in the spread of disinformation on social media platforms, as well as moderating illegal content. So the details of that all to come later, but the penalties under these new laws would be much higher than they had been previously. 6 to 10% of global turnover for these major digital companies. We're talking about billions and billions of euros there in potential fines if breaches are found. And the sort of companies they're going to be targeting are the biggest household names in technology: Google, Facebook, Amazon. This is the first step in a process we'll have of this draft law being unveiled. It may be many years before we get the final regulations, which will have to go through a complex ratification process within the European machinery, and that, of course, comes as at the same time we've had this history of big tech investigations in the EU where they've yielded billions of euros in fines, but some commentators say that they've yielded little change from the companies that they've targeted.
Now, another story for you in business. The social media site Pinterest has paid a record settlement. This is to a former executive after she claimed she was being discriminated against because of her gender. Stephen, what more can you tell us on that?
So the settlement was worth $22.5 million in the United States. Pinterest agreeing to pay that to their former chief operating officer, Françoise Bruguère. That's after she had sued the company in August, accusing it of excluding her from meetings when she pushed for equal pay, and her raising concerns about sexist comments from colleagues. Now, her complaint had said that the move had solidified her being fired from the company, as she saw it, over this, had solidified Pinterest's unwelcoming environment for women and minorities. That's the words that she had in her legal claim. The company, which its majority majority of its user base are female, settling this case with her for this eye-watering $22.5 million. The company and Françoise Bruguère releasing a joint statement on that settlement. Pinterest saying that the case now settled as it recognised the importance of fostering a workplace environment that is diverse, equitable and inclusive, while Françoise Bruguère saying she welcomed the meaningful steps that Pinterest had taken to improve its workplace. The significant things about this, not only the size of the money, that $22.5 million includes a donation of $2.5 million to organisations that promote women and minorities in technology, and the fact that this is all in public is significant as well. Many cases along this vein have been settled in private in the past, so it's significant that we've got this settlement news in public this time around.
Stephen, just time for a very quick look at the markets.
The European market's opening today in the red, although if you look at the indices, we've actually got gains at the start of trading in Paris and Frankfurt, but across the broad spread of European shares, there's still that investor worries, of course, about spreading of the virus, increased restrictions in various parts of the world. Similar picture in Asia earlier. We had falls across all of the main Asian markets too. The Hang Seng and Hong Kong down by 0.7% as it comes to the end of its trading day.
Stephen, thanks very much. Stephen Carroll, our business editor on France 24.